the day is here, or nearing quickly, for the class of 2012 to graduate. Welcome, friends and family of the graduates of 2012. It is our pleasure to have you here this evening. The baccalaureate service is one that I often get asked by students, what's the point? They don't know, and it's a lost thing in our culture. But it is an opportunity to receive a charge from God's Word for your future, and to return worship to God for what He's done through the course of your years in school. So that's why we're here tonight, is to worship our God and to participate corporately in returning thanks for what God's done in and through each of our students this year. We welcome you and are glad to have you. And this evening, the way that we've structured things is a little bit different. We have a couple of things that don't quite fit into a worship service, but they are, in a sense, an act of worship because they're honoring the young people in the lives that God has entrusted to our care. So we're doing those at the beginning tonight, a couple of presentations. First, each year, precious Mrs. Plummer, who has been here for decades. She started at North Hills the year I was born. So bless her for her faithful ministry to the school. She each year composes a personal poem to the class of each graduating class. And she'll be presenting those, followed by a picture presentation where you see these young ones grow up. And that's a neat part of tonight. And then we'll begin with a worship service as Mr. Price comes up and prays to seek an invocation. So Mrs. Plummer, would you come join for the presentation?
I always have to start with a disclaimer, and it is that the ideas are not all my own. I ask for faculty input, I ask for the input of those in your class, and this year there were a lot of underclassmen who contributed as well, who shared the things that they will remember about you. But before we start those, I'd like to read the poem that was written for the classmate who is not here today. And this is the poem that many of you have already seen because it's in the beginning of our yearbook this year, and it is Johnny's poem. Many people impact our lives in a multitude of ways, by what they say or what they do as they share noteworthy days. Johnny surely made a mark in the lives of all his peers as he attended North Hills throughout his scholastic years. Johnny had the skill of turning boredom into fun, with teachers never able to prove the mischief he had done. His sheepish grin and subtle ways could capture a female's heart, while winning a guitar hero turned fun into an art. He could hardly wait until he could be in the varsity team, as becoming a basketball star was another part of his dream. His life was suddenly cut short early in his freshman year, but constantly reminders of his life seemed to appear, from organs that were donated to a jersey on our wall, and of course a memorial tournament of the game of basketball. Somehow through it all, we've all learned to cherish every friend, that life eternal is God's gift, and death is not an end. We've learned we're not invincible, that it's hard when a friend dies, but that someday joy will follow when we join you in heaven's skies. Teresa, would you like to come and sing? Now it is tradition for the senior to whom I am reading to come forward. So first I would like to call on Cameron Bacc. Yeah, for me. Some students are not meant to be seated at a desk. but rather enjoy creating things that might be quite grotesque. Like shoving all appendages into a cute prayer bear and then throwing around the room a ball that's covered with bear hair. Or connecting 95 paper clips to create a chain. Or folding up a paper into an amazing plane. This all might sound familiar if you're in Cameron's class, a young man whose handiwork is difficult to surpass. So it's not surprising that when choosing what to do, Cameron will work machines that could overwhelm me and you. It seems that God has gifted him in a very special way with hands and heart that the Lord can use each and every day. Yes, they are alphabetical. Christian Brown. When taking the name Christian, one must be assured that the name will positively reflect a life committed to the Lord. And that's true of Christian Brown, for we have come to see a spirit of faith and love and joy and true humility. Last year, she asked the folks at church to test for marrow of the bone, and in taking on this project, her leadership was shown. She said that she gained confidence as she tried these lives to save, which reminds me of the heroine, Merida, in the movie Brave. A red-haired gal whose spirit leads to interesting pursuit, which ends in having her arise to a status of great repute. And though life as a nurse may never bring her fame, we know that Christian will do well in living up to her name. Zachary Byerly. An intelligent, deep thinker who usually takes things in stride. Zach's good with his priorities and sometimes home with a slump. He's not seeking to stand out or looking for debate, not bragging or attempting his ego to inflate. In fact, when out in front, one finds Zach's face may turn red. A blush that's really cute, or so I've heard it said. However, he does stand out when he's playing a baseball game, giving 100%. Victory is his aim. However, participation this season was cut short as from the baseball field, he left relying on others' support. We prayed he'd quickly heal and get rid of that bulky cast, and thanks to the great physician, we got the answer for which we asked. J.W. Canterbury. J.W. is full of potential galore, intelligent and humorous and so much more. So it's interesting when asking him what he plans to do, "I'll wing it and see what happens," seems to say he has no clue. But actually, he says he'll be an automotive service technician who analyzes aspects of an ailing car's condition. He says he'll avoid body work because it requires finesse. That sanding, grinding, and priming would cause him too much stress. So we assume that to community college he will go so his knowledge of this work can expand and grow. Years from now, when searching for an honest car mechanic, we'll know J.W. will treat us well, so we won't need to panic. Polis and Broskus, or something similar to that. The gentleman before you is smart without even trying. Competitive in nature, so for honors always vying. Classmates say he's always right, even when he's wrong, and that his heart is tender, even though his will is strong. Obelus is Biz's father, chosen for that special role, to help to set an example and to inspire Biz's soul. He has a pregnant lizard, so I guess he'll be a dad again. But if he goes back to Europe, who'll take care of it then? Doing community service and helping in projects galore have helped him learn about others, but about himself even more. He still is unsure about college and where he'll attend this fall, but one thing's for sure, he'll tell you, he will play basketball. Musa Dakar. You ready? When Musa came to North Hills in his junior year, it really was a challenge, but he truly showed no fear. He found himself quite far away from his native France, but hoping to play basketball, he thought he'd have a chance. It seems that many people wanted to see this young man play, so we were glad he joined us and hoped that he would stay. I soon learned that Musa really wanted to compete and would do whatever it took to conquer any feat. And when he did, I found that Musa liked to be the man. And he worked hard because schoolwork was important to his plan. And truly, while he's been here, he's grown in many ways. In writing, math, and of course, in executing plays. So watch the internet, my friend, and Google search his name, and keep an eye on Musa as he's on the road to fame. Felix Frank. Felix doesn't say much, so it's difficult to determine all that's going on inside the mind of this young German. We used to watch for his scooter to arrive on days of rain, and even though he'd come in soaked, he never would complain. His gentle consideration, his patience and kind heart all describe his nature, along with being technically smart. He's been a valuable asset to Mr. Houghton and Mr. Price, helping set up a computer or other technical device. He also has a talent when a camera's in his hand, capturing artistic shots that really are quite grand. We're glad we got to know this fine young man who's very frank, and for bringing him into our lives, our God will surely thank.